Okay, everybody. Thanks for coming, everybody. Tonight's board meeting, and if we would, we'll have Marty do an invocation.
We thank you for allowing us to do this. And Father, we thank you for the time that we have here. Thank you for this wonderful community that you've allowed us to live in. Father, you know exactly what we need tonight. You know the hearts and lives of every person that is here. Pray your blessing upon their families. Father, I pray your blessing upon the council members and the board members as they make decisions, and give them wisdom and discernment. I just pray for safety and for your heart and your life to be involved here. We just thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Now, if we do the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, no, one of these. Let's see.
So call to order, consent agenda. Is everybody okay with the consent agenda? So minutes from last month?
I move that we pass the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor? All opposed? None. Consent agenda passes. Let's see, unfinished business, special committee.
The special committee has not had a chance to meet, so thank you. We will just table that for further.
New business is collection policy. There was some verbiage, some definitions we were going to discuss and see what we wanted to do with them.
I propose that since there's some, what do I want to say, discrepancies on what a sex act is and sexually explicit, that we add some of this verbiage that Iowa passed, but it'll be your own verbiage. It says the term sex act or sexual activity means any sexual contact between two or more persons by any of the following: penetration of the penis into the vagina or anus, contact between the mouth and genitals or mouth and anus, or contact between the genitalia of one and the genitalia or anus of another, contact between the finger, hand, or other body part of one person and the genitals or anus of another person, except in the course of examination or treatment by a person licensed pursuant to, and then we'd have to put in here what we thought that should be. Ejaculation onto another person of another, by use of artificial sex organ or substitutes thereof in contact with the genitalia or anus, or 6, the touching of a person's own genitalia or anus with finger, hand, or artificial sexual organ or other similar device at the direction of another person. I think we should add that to our definitions.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Do we use the term sex act and sexual activity in our policy that we just passed?
Mr. Chairman, we do use sexually explicit, so in that regard, we do use sex. So that, I think that defines
So
sexually.
these terms actually aren't used in our policy?
The forms of that word are used,
Okay.
yeah.
Are you going to put together some language to show how this would fit into our policy?
I can do that. I thought we'd have discussion first and see what people's thoughts were.
Good point.
Where would you propose to to put this, Sage?
I would put it in the policy for protecting children from harmful and sexual explicit material. I think we put it, in that, with that first paragraph where it says, let's see.
I'm on 16 and 17.
Mr.
So I'm on page
Chair,
11.
Point of order. I did receive a copy of this, but since this our policy hasn't even gone into effect yet, we've said that the policy doesn't go into effect until we've hired a new manager. Maybe this conversation's premature until
I think we can
somebody
go.
can give us some language. Well, you caught me off guard, because there's nothing in the agenda attached to show which pages of the policy you wanted to talk about.
Well, I think that's why we're having this conversation, is so we can have a discussion about it. It's on the agenda. Down here it says, I'm sorry, what?
Let me look and see if I brought it with me.
Oh, the policy?
Well, I told you.
So, I think down here where it talks about, sexual conduct, sexual excitement, sexual battery, bestiality, nudity, so forth and so on, we can put in there a definition of, the sex act, and therefore could include some of this verbiage here. So that's subparagraph 1, in there where it talks about that. And I think we should also get rid of obscene. We put that in there, and we don't want to go to the height of obscene. It says which is obscene. I think we should delete anything that says obscene. We don't think we have to get to the highest threshold in order to filter that stuff out. I think we want it just to stick down even with regular sex acts. It doesn't have to get to be obscene.
So this is what we were talking about when we were, so my question, Sage, would be, are these kind of like the perimeters what they could look at for what examples would be of sexual content?
Right.
Okay.
Any comments about thinking that's a good direction to go? Or is this something that you feel like is out of, it limits us too much?
Well, I think this discussion is premature. When we went through the whole year of discussion on the collection development policy, we had language that we put together that we advertised. So I think we would have to do another advertisement for more public input. I think it was, 45 days notice? Something like that.
It changes intent.
I don't know.
Of course it changes intent. If you're
We
gonna-
have plenty of time until we get a director. We have plenty of time to do this, and now's the time to do it. We've heard public comment on, we don't know where the line is to be drawn. It was made known to us, this definition was made by another legislature, and I think
Well, the
it's
definition,
good.
if I might, I read that section out of the statutes. This comes out of the Iowa criminal statutes. This has nothing to do with obscenity, nothing to do with books. They have the same basic obscenity laws that we have. The obscenity standard language that we put into our collection development policy makes those rules constitutional. If you take that out, there's no chance that this would ever fly.
I disagree with you, Charlie, because we have a right as a library to decide what we want to put in our library, and this is stating what we want to put in our library. It has nothing to do with, we could say we don't want to have stuff in here on trucks, and because we don't believe in fossil fuels, let's say. I don't know, but we have a right as a library to decide what we want, whether we're a law library or a medical library, and we can decide we don't want to have whatever information we want. Now, once we get information in our library, it is hard to remove it. But we can set the parameters of what we want our collection to look like. And so we can say we don't want our collection to have sexually explicit material for minors. And that is legally robust.
Did Greg give you that opinion?
No, he did not.
Is this from your attorneys in Florida?
No,
Who?
I have lawyer friends.
Who are your lawyer friends? Who's giving you advice? I'd like to know who's advising the
I
board.
honestly don't remember who gave it to me, but I know it wasn't Liberty Counsel. I have had a lot of conversations with a lot of people.
Ah. Any in town?
Yeah, some in town, some out of town.
Well, I would like to see exactly how you intend to amend this and have language put out. And then we can go over that again, so we
I
have some
believe
idea
that.
what you're talking about.
I believe that's what this discussion is about, is to bring it forward, and we've been asked several times for definitions and things like.
Who have they been asked
Everybody.
by?
Even our own people have asked us for definitions.
Darcy's asked us for,
Yeah, so that's what the intent of this is to bring this forward for discussion.
We have definitions in Wyoming statutes that might be just as good as Iowa. I don't know if we've looked at those.
if you could bring some forward, I'd love to see them.
And I did mention that to you in our phone conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to understand that the intention is to discuss, and we would still go to public notice before you guys want to make changes. Is that correct? Okay.
Exactly,
Because
sir.
as far as the language, the use of obscenity that we all voted on and put into the draft while we were working on it, that's still going to be important for the challenge process to take books out of the collection.
Why would it be important?
Because you have a First Amendment right to access certain materials. And the standard for exercising the First Amendment is obscenity. So taking books out of the collection, that's what you said in a way, that there are different standards for taking books out than maybe there are for putting books in.
Well, I think as long as we get to decide what is in our collection, and if it doesn't meet our collection development policy, then we can weed it out.
No, we can't. If it's in our collection, then taking the book out requires that we follow the First Amendment. We all have a right, First Amendment right to access different material, even kids.
But I think the thing is that personally, I am not asking books to be taken out, Charlie. I am asking for books to be moved to certain areas that are more age appropriate.
Well, that's a different discussion.
No, it's the
That's
same
what this discussion
discussion.
is
It's
about,
the same
Charlie.
discussion because and I've said this from the beginning, to move a book, let's say, Tricks, which has very much content for 16, even down to 16-year-olds and up, should be moved to an age-appropriate area, which is not an age-appropriate area for 12-year-olds.
We didn't address, I don't necessarily disagree with you on that. We didn't address that with the collection development policy.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. That's the whole thing. Yes, we did. We have.
Well, I don't think, what I'm saying is, I don't think we addressed how
Moving
to
the books.
set up an intermediate area, if that's what you're saying, to put the books, or how to change the age group designations for different parts of the library. That's what I'm
So
hearing.
it was assumed in the past that we could just move the books. I asked Terry, if we decide, to do this policy, what would you do with the books if we decided those didn't fit the collection development policy? And she said she was going to file them in the adult section. If we need to put verbiage in here that we want to put it in a new adult section, if we want to do that, we could do that and say if it doesn't meet this criteria, then we move it to the new adult section for 16-year-olds and up, and that will be housed in the upstairs area. Then that's something we could put in here. If that's something that makes you more comfortable.
Well, it doesn't necessarily make me more comfortable. The cases we've looked at, the federal cases that we've distributed and we've all looked at, are very critical of moving books in places where their intended audience can't get there. All I'm saying, and there may be a way to do that that's constitutional. I'm not saying.
Well, that's why I think a new adult section in the upstairs, where it's not down there where 12-year-olds have access to it.
Well, and that might be a discussion to have with the new director. About how to do that.
I would just like to have something in place for a new director. So that's where I'm going.
point really is, it might be useful to have input from someone with an appropriate background and education to help us do that. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with Sage that we need to get this going so that it is ready to go when the new director, maybe before they're interviewed or while they're being interviewed. I don't know if, I would like to hear if the county commissioners or any of the other boards in town, when they make amendment to a policy, do they have to do the 45 days every time? Is that standard for every board, or?
We're an administrative agency. We're separate and apart from the county. This is an independent agency that, once it's set up, has its own life. And the opinion we got, as you recall, from the county attorney was that this would be rulemaking, that's the technical term, under the statutes, we had to give the appropriate notice. That's why we did it before.
And that was a different county attorney, so with a different opinion. I think it's a legitimate concern to ask. I don't
Before you
know.
ran off the county attorney. I mean,
I think you shouldn't dispel lies, Charlie. I think we need to say what the truth is. Please do not say that at all, because that is not the truth.
at any rate, I'm sorry,
Point.
but that was the opinion that we acted
This
on
discussion,
from the county
this-
attorney.
Okay, let's get back on. This discussion was to put in some possibly definitions, because we've been asked for definitions. And that's what this is all about. This was not about the moving books or anything. This discussion's topic was supposed to be. And that's why I sent you that a couple days ago. That's why we had that conversation. And I asked you if Wyoming has this in fact in its statutes, why can't we use Wyoming's? And I asked you.
Well, I think these are definitions, I agree. The important part is gonna be how these get fit into our policy. There are definitions like this. I didn't look at the Wyoming statutes to see exactly if they define these words in the same way. We can certainly do that. That's not hard to do. The question is, how does that get integrated into the rest of it?
That's what this discussion's about.
And Charlie, I mean, public, when we got feedback for the collection policy, one of the things that kept coming up is we needed definitions from that have been said. I know that people here have asked us for definitions.
Okay, so on this page, it says policy for protecting children from harmful, sexually explicit material in areas designated for minors.
What page are we on? I'm sorry.
7. I'm on 11. Are you on 11? We're gonna bold that too, so it's easier to find. Okay, so then it says underneath that heading, it says it shall be the goal of Campbell County Public Library System through its collections, policies, and areas designated for minors to meet the educational, informational, and recreational needs of the community, especially its children. In curating its collection in the children's and young adult sections for the benefit of the community, the Campbell County Public Library System takes seriously its obligation to not include. So this is where we see the first obscene, right? Is that right? So that would be taken out as what a suggestion is. And then sexually explicit, is this the place right here where we could say, or sex act? That's what I was thinking. Within the children's and young adult sections that would be harmful to minors or impede their development. And then we can have right here an indent with a paragraph, the term sex act, and what we previously read. I think it isn't that hard to add this in. I would like to know if this is something that can be done soon so we can get it started. I don't want to wait for another meeting. We all had this on the agenda to discuss today, so I don't want to wait for another day.
Well, I beg to differ with you. Although, in fact, Chuck did send me something. There was nothing in the agenda that was published, nothing that was on our website for anybody to look at to know exactly what we were going to talk about.
So we can get our foot in the door. Let's put this in the policy, put it online, and let's start our 45 days. How is that a big deal? Am I missing
Well,
something?
Yes, you are. We ought to have the language put together, whatever it is you want, then we can discuss it. Then we can put together a notice, just like we did last time, and have whatever it is, 45 days for people to give input, then we could discuss it again, then it would be available to us to pass.
So all we have to do is get that verbiage ironed out now if you want. This is-
I would
it's a
like,
serious-
I would like to have the opportunity, and our next meeting would be fine, as far as I'm concerned. If somebody, whatever it is your concept is, put it together and send it out in draft form that we can all look at. It's much easier to do things like this if what the changes you want to make are actually written. It's hard to react to these this quickly without knowing
Well,
exactly
I just
how
thought
it
it would
goes.
be,
with
we can
everything
work on
else.
it together. I don't think it's that difficult. I think just
I
like she
would think
said,
you'd still want to exclude sexually or obscene material, wouldn't you?
yeah, I think we want to exclude it.
So it's also written, the word obscene is in, there's another paragraph below that says to improve the experience, so there's no words of obscene in there. But then the next paragraph down is labeled 1 and 2, 1 has 2 places where obscene is used, so we could cross out those 2 places. Is there any other places, anyone else
Why
where
would
you
you,
noticed
why
where
would you
obscene
want
was?
to not exclude obscene material?
It could say or obscene, but we want it down where it doesn't have to meet the threshold of obscene. That it's just a sex act. And if the sex act is obscene, great, but,
So it would say which is obscene or a sex act, or which is otherwise harmful to minors.
I'd like to see it written out so we could mess with the words.
Okay, well, what did we do when we did our session, when we did our workshop session? This is exactly what we did. We had the words and we added them in. I'm not kidding. I feel like this is exactly what we did for
Well, I
hours.
think,
I don't understand how it's any different.
You've surprised me. I wasn't aware that we were going to go into a group drafting session tonight.
I believe,
agenda didn't say
I
that.
talked to Chuck this morning. I just got back last night. I talked to Chuck this morning and he said he had a conversation with you about this piece of paper, the sex act
He asked me
definition.
where this came from, I looked it up and I told him. He didn't say we're gonna take this apart and go over it word by word to change new words. He never once told me that there was a proposal to remove obscene from all these places in the document. You never said that, Chuck.
No, I didn't, and I didn't ask you to look it up. I
Well, I
sent this,
looked it up.
I
See where it
sent
came
this
from.
to you because I knew where it came from. Because it says right there, Iowa 701 or 702.17. And I said, do we have anything like this in Wyoming statutes that we can use? Because we're thinking about using this as a definition because we've been asked for definitions. And that's what this is all about, is to get the discussion on definitions, because that's been a sticking point with a lot of people on defining things. And we thought this, and when I asked you and I can't find anything in Wyoming, and I'm not that good at it. So that's what this was discussing.
Well, yeah, well, I'll be happy to take a look. But all I'm saying is, if you guys have an idea of the changes you want to make, let's put together a written draft and send it around, and then we can talk about it.
Yeah,
That's all I'm,
absolutely.
I don't like
I think
being
we have plenty of
surprised by
time for
things
that,
that
but I don't
may-
think we're gonna get a director here before we get that passed. I mean, I think we have plenty of time to do that. We might.
She's gonna hit me. She's sitting next to me. I
We
don't,
might-
I haven't
we
seen
might.
me smack.
You haven't seen me in terms of about 6 months or something? So,
Is there any further discussion?
I would move to table this until one of us can make a rough draft. Or propose a work session, I don't know.
whatever.
I could bring a rough draft
Yeah, I
to a
think
work
that'd be
session. but
I'd like to see something other than having it handed to me at the start of the meeting.
Okay, but I think you did see this definition before this meeting, so I just wanted,
Well, I didn't see, yeah, but I didn't know the context, of what was being intended.
I have not seen this before this meeting. No, I did not get this before the meeting. Sorry, I did not get it.
I thought you should
No, I did not get it.
Chelsea, I did ask, I did
So
ask
I'm
Chelsea to
just
send
putting
it
it on the
to you.
record, I did not get this before the meeting.
All right, okay. All in favor
Because
to,
I asked you.
do we have a second?
I'll second the motion to
Thank you,
table.
sir. All in favor of tabling to, okay. All in favor of tabling till next meeting or work session? Aye. Thank you.
And can I, Mr. Chairman, is the understanding that Chelsea's gonna put out you're gonna do a rough draft?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And, can I just say something?
Can I just say something, Mr. Chair? That when you, I'm just putting this on the record, that when you texted me about what the agenda was, I never got that either, and I just told you, go ahead and do the agenda, so I'm just putting it out there. That is.
And I have to apologize, I thought I sent
No,
everybody a
it's
copy.
okay, I just had to tease you about that.
And I'll look,
It's okay, Charlie. Okay.
director's report.
That's you, Brady.
That's you, Brandy.
Is this on? Yeah.
Okay, so, everybody forgive me for my first time on this one. So for the director's report, I don't know what number 1 is, so we're just gonna skip that. Hiring the 20-hour youth service specialist positions, interviews are happening now, so that's great. 10-hour branch service specialist in Wright. Katie's gonna start scheduling those interviews shortly. We still have open library journalist positions, so we're working that. Obviously, we're still hiring for the executive director. Yay. I did send the applications to the board on the 24th. We received 7 applicants. I did send all applications to the board. Once the board replies with their individual selections, the interview processing can begin. This evening, we will go into executive session, discuss personnel. What to be clear on the interview process as established by previous executive director positions within the county. I felt like last time we met, there was a little bit of confusion surrounding that, so just kind of, if it's okay with the board, go over that right quick. So first round would be, consist of a panel interview with employees and board representatives. The second round will be the entire board. If a candidate is selected, the board will work with HR to make an offer of employment and coordinate an announcement upon acceptance.
So the first round is who again?
A panel of employees with board members, not necessarily the entire board, that's up to the board's decision. The second round interview is the entire board. To be seen if that has to be executive session or not, we'll discuss that. But it's not a 3-prong, it's 2 unless there's a really tight race and we need to do third just to break it. And then we move forward with offers, yes.
So some of these candidates are out of state, would we do that via Zoom?
The first round for sure. Second round, if the board wanted to discuss having them come in, then we would bring them in. But first round for sure would be Teams or Zoom.
So, and that was my mistake. We can meet as a quorum during these interviews.
Yes.
Okay. That's where the
We'd
third
have to
one.
notice it ought to be a meeting.
Yeah, thank
But
you.
the public's not invited, right?
No,
I thought
To
the county
interview- not
did
to
interview.
interviews, no.
no, not
For
in the
this
last
board?
board. I don't know
boards.
about this board.
For
Well,
boards.
for other boards that I've been involved with, including the commissioners, no. And I have the county attorney's office looking into that as well to verify. So once the county attorneys get back to me, I will send out a notice to make sure that I am accurate. We're into the admin department by 9:15 on all staff, with the exception of management. So that's HR and hiring. Workshops and meetings, you guys have the list of workshops and meetings. I'm not gonna, there's a lot. In all honesty, I had no clue there was this much until the managers meeting last week, and I was very impressed by how much there is coming. Our staff is very, very busy with it. I do have a question for the board on the book sale that's coming up. So we do have a book sale coming. Traditionally with the disposal of books, once the book sale's over, we donate what we can to the jail and to other entities. However, and then we leave a free table out there for about a week or so, but there's always some leftover stragglers. We don't have room to store them for the next book sale. There's been some kickback before for them going to the recycling or to other places. What does the board want done with these books? Not to put you on the spot.
I have an idea. You can shoot it down, okay? But we have this little free book shelf in the hallway. How many books, I mean, maybe you don't know, but how many books are left over? That would be the question. Can they just be put on the free shelf instead of hauling them to the recycling center? Or can we work out like an actual agreement with the recycling center where we go and put those books on their shelves that they have set up? I don't know if there's someone that could come from the recycling center and say, we could make an agreement like, hey, would you take our books that don't sell so they're not ending up in the trash? And can we put them on your shelves in the recycling center or in the hallway here? I don't know what the best solution is to that, but I would like to see that we continue to care for the books even after we've tried to sell them.
Okay. I'll look into it. There are some of the books that ended up at the recycling center because I have connections with people that work at the recycling center. Weird in nature. Some of those books that ended up there from people that had purchased them at the book sale too. But let me look into it. That's an idea that we'll look at.
It could be a service project. I mean, even the board, maybe some board members would want to go with me and haul the books after the used book sale and put them on the shelf. I know I would do it. But I just think it's our obligation to care for our materials. So would you check on someone from the recycling center if they'd be willing to work something out with us? Anyone else? Sorry, I didn't mean to take over.
If I might, I go to the recycling center frequently, and they have bookshelves, and they have books on the bookshelves. So there's places, depending on, I'm not aware of how many books we're talking about really, that we end up, maybe we don't know every year. But there seems like lots of bookshelves.
Well, right now they do have a lot of book space, but that over time that might change. Also, maybe we could, donate them to some ministry things. The VA. I mean, I know that there's some. I know Terry tried to do a lot of those things as well, and but I think things are always changing, and I think we should try to do something with the books than just destroy them.
Okay, great, thank you.
A couple of other places though that I think need books is the Salvation Army in Sheridan and the VA hospital up in Sheridan, because I think the lack of material up there, especially at the VA hospital, which serves this whole northwestern area. Did you write those down, Reed? Sure. Okay. I was going to write them down.
And I go to Sheridan often, so I can take them there.
So we can just load up your vehicle.
So I can just load up my vehicle and just take them there, so.
Service project. Okay, great. The next thing, marketing study update. So in partnership with LFI and FMG, the questionnaire resulted in an estimated 800 plus participants. We're currently pulling together a report to share the results. The next steps will be using the questionnaire results to update the branding guide. So we don't have that results yet, but we will by the next meeting, I'm guessing. I'm not gonna promise, but that's the information I have at this point, so. I don't have an update from the foundation at this point. I'll let Friends of the Library's next meeting is on the 29th, and they are, obviously, the book sale is theirs, so they're participating. Thank you, Friends of the Library. That's all the things on my list.
This book sales up at Right, not here, or is it,
No, it's here.
is it
It's
here?
in this room usually.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's one in, oh, there was one in right last, at the beginning.
oh, okay.
And those are my updates. Oh, no, I have one more question for the board, and that'll be the end of my stumbling for the evening thus far. It's a touchy one. How would the board like book challenges to be processed during this time? I am not qualified to determine book challenges. And that we're not moving forward with the policy in this moment, but if a book challenge comes in, and the
Well,
staff will follow their normal protocol and their procedure, but then when it hits to where I'm at, do you want me to bring them to the board?
I think we need to talk to our lawyer about that and how we can proceed with that. So I think we need to have a conversation.
Table that?
Table that, and that's my opinion.
We could follow the old procedure,
Well,
except,
Yeah.
no, I understand.
Yeah.
That under either of our procedures, the director has a very important role, to put everything together and to give input. And I guess I'm not surprised that you are not, I don't know what we do. Do we have any now?
My perception of what Brandy said about us not implementing the policy has already been implemented, it's already passed, it's already there. Now, whether we foist it on the staff when we don't have a director there, I understand that, we're not doing, but we could evaluate a book challenge by the policy that is now in place. So, that's my take on things, but that's.
I suppose we could have the senior librarian left on the deck take on the role of the director
Yeah, I mean,
and do that report.
she does most of that work anyway.
Yeah,
So that's one option. Or we could, ask for, some time and see if it's legally, if we can't postpone it till we have a director. I don't know the answer to that.
We have received one challenge already, and I'm in the process of, I couldn't actually check the book out, so I'm listening to the audio right now. Because of course, according to policy, we have to read it, so.
absolutely.
I think probably, hopefully, if people would just hold off on the challenges till we get, unless this senior management, I don't have a problem with going through the senior manager.
Mr. Chair, my only concern with going through the senior management, and I trust their expertise more than anything, sorry, my only concern with going through the senior management is I do not want the final responsibility to be upon that person. I want that final say to be
Right, the board.
at the board,
Right.
since I'm not the one to make that call, because I'm not qualified on that.
Well, I think it would be on the board. That's how the challenge policy works, the old one or the new one. The new one is not that different really from the old one, other than it's clearer about requiring people to read the books. If I remember correctly, isn't the book being challenged one that's already been challenged?
Right, but it was our understanding under the new policy, all the books that had been previously challenged could be re-challenged.
There's no language at all in the policy that says that. What we said was that you could challenge a book no more often than once every 3 years. So if this is a book that was challenged within 3 years, it's too early. The other part is, if this book that was challenged was upheld by the board, that's a final action. We've had this conversation. That was a final action by the board, and it was subject to appeal to district court, because we're an agency. And the person whoever it was who challenged the book didn't appeal it. So I'm not sure that this board, under the rules, has the prerogative to redo a case that's gone all the way through, all the way up to the board before.
It was my understanding that when these books were challenged, there was no language said that it was a final decision, that you
Oh,
guys
I-
changed that language.
That's Wyoming state law. It says the final action of an administrative
Okay, please, in the
agency
background, please.
is subject to appeal to the district court. This is the same thing when the county commissioners do zoning appeals and tax cases. If somebody's disappointed with the final action they take, they can appeal to the district court. And that was always available to people under our old policy. The process wasn't described, but it was
Well,
there.
again, I think we need to check with our lawyer, make sure everything is all okay there.
Okay, thank you. That was it for me.
Thank you, Brandy. Now it's public presentation. Comment period. First one is Ben Decker.
Hello. Yes. Okay. So I sent all of you an email, and I also sent it to all the media outlets and all the county commissioners and some state legislatures, and I also plan on sending it to the governor. Basically, I think the media outlets are a joke, and I think that's part of the reason for the conflict in this situation. I'll just give an example. The former director went on CNN saying there is nothing in the library that could be classified as pornography in any way, shape, or form. And this comment went nationwide and was covered by many different news outlets and embellished upon and repeated. So I went ahead and released the story anonymously to all the news outlets with no success in getting it printed anywhere. And I'd like to share some of that here, but the complete thing I sent is in the email to you. Here's a description of one of the movies in the Campbell County Public Library in the Campbell County Public Library. Warning, this film contains graphic nudity and explicit sex acts that might be upsetting and or offensive to some viewers. And it continues from there. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. I'm not going to mention the titles in public comments, but you have them all in your email. So my question is, why are you guys, why do people insist on continuing to say that there is not pornography when there in fact is pornography? Does the other side want pornography in the library? And if so, why? It just doesn't make sense to me. So I also want to know, like, how should we proceed? Because the current challenge process suggests that we should all watch all the pornographic movies in their entirety, then promote them by presenting them at a library board meeting to make people curious about them, and keep a close watch for any new movies that are added for the rest of our lives. Wouldn't a better option be to not subscribe to a service that includes pornographic movies in the first place? I mean, I guess I'll leave it to the other side. If you actually want pornography and want children to have access to it, please explain that and tell us why. Thanks.
Thank you, Ben. Next is Priscilla Hickson.
Are you turning it on?
I'm really technology challenged. Just ask my husband. Oh dear. My name is Priscilla Hickson, and I would like to start off by thanking the board for their courage in the face of all the ridicule that they are subjected to. I'm here and here. I read it in the newspaper. I mean, you guys endure a lot. Another thing that I'm reading in the newspaper, every time I read an article, the people on the opposite side, the numbers get bigger. First it's 100, then it's hundreds,
and next it'll probably be thousands, who knows? But just as a point of interest, at the last the last meeting was approximately a month ago. Subsequent to that, we had a meeting on Friday. So some of us went out and took pictures of the license plates of the cars in the lot right out here. This was after the library was closed, so those people were in this room. They were not out there in the library. There were 15 vehicles from out of Campbell County, 3 from South Dakota. Oh, by the way, all these vehicles would hold at least 5 people, so who knows? We had one report that one was full, would be 5 people. There was 4 from Montana, 2 from Laramie, 4 from Crook County, 2 from Cheyenne, and 1 from Torrington. So those people are not from Campbell County, and they came in for some unknown reason. One of our people heard them talking in the back. They did not even know why they were here. So why were they here? Who knows? They were here because somebody asked them. So the question is the children, and it's the pornography. So I'm going to tell you a story that I personally was aware of when I was in Seattle. There was, I was in my early 20s, and there was this person going around raping and killing young women my age, and we were scared. And one person that got away said this guy's name was Ted. It so happened my best friend's brother's name was Ted, so we teased him unmercifully about being this guy that was going around doing that. Well, they finally caught the guy. His name was Ted Bundy, and he was convicted, and he is now dead. He was put on, he was killed for that. But his story is that he grew up in a wonderful Christian home with 2 dedicated, loving parents. But he encountered outside his home softcore.
I'm sorry, that's 3 minutes. I don't have a dinger on.
Well, I didn't hear very far.
Ed Siskey.
Mr. Chairman and Board, I'd like to bring you maybe a little bit of relief tonight from the media that has been going on, and several have already commented on it, so I'll try to be brief. But what does a reporter do when you want to write something but you have no substance? Well, you have a reporter in town that decided that he was just going to, in his own words, bash Campbell County Public Library Board members and Campbell County commissioners. His accusation was you were gaslighting, and you were going through different board machinations. That was his accusation. The board, as you know, went through staff changes, and they did not give the reason why. That was one of his points. And I know that you don't have to give the reason why, but I've been working at this for 26 months. If people don't know the reason why, they're just not listening, I guess. Number 2, library board members conspired with anti-LGBTQ group, you guessed it, Mass Resistance, who have only asked that the children be protected. That's all we've asked, not to pick on any specific group. And that's the truth. And then number 3, we were told that we were sycophants who follow the county commissioners and the library board. Well, if we're sycophants, then we'll carry your bags out, I guess, today. And a sycophant is like a groupie. In one word, he says we're conspiracy people. In another word, he says we're sycophants. Which ones are we? I'm sure some people behind me would like to make that comment too. But the truth of the matter is you can't have both. So there's been a lot of misrepresentation And people need to speak up and just expose this for what it is. This individual didn't have anything better to write, so he wrote this in the news record. You're going to get a lot of media like this, and just stand up against it. You did the right thing. We appreciate it, and thank you for it.
Thank you, Mr. Siskey. Next is Lynn Carlson.
Hello. Hi, good afternoon. I want to thank all you board members and everyone present here for continuing to show up for these meetings and argue the cause. And I also want to say thank you for the Brave Book event that was held here in August. It was very successful, and it was more along the lines of what children should be seeing. Again, I want to say that I come from a different side of this. I have a daughter and 3 grandsons that have been sexually trafficked. They aren't there now, but this type of material that we've been asking to be moved to adults section is to protect the children. I don't know anyone in this room or out of this room that has hate for anyone, wants to burn books or ban books, nor are we Nazis, which we are being portrayed in the media because of us wanting to protect children and protect children's innocence. We are pro-life, pro-family, and pro-healthy children. We don't have any murderous intent like Nazis. And we have asked for a long time, a little bit more than 2 years, for these sexually explicit books to be moved to a section that young children cannot get their eyes and hands on. And I'm sure everyone in this room knows and understands that once you see something, you can't unsee it. My grandsons have been in years of counseling, and I am offended that anyone would want to promote pornographic materials, including how to touch yourself or your friends. And I don't care what you are. I don't care if you're a unicorn. It doesn't matter to me. Do what you want in your own privacy. This is a public place where other people come. Now, if you could do those acts right here in public, then maybe that book wouldn't be pornographic, right? But if you have to hide that stuff, who would really want a child to read this stuff? Children have to get permission to buy, do all kinds of things. Movies have ratings on them. You can't go see certain movies. They're PG-13, over 13. But here they can come here and grab a book and learn all kinds of things that may or may not be being taught in their home. And it's every parent and adult's responsibility and our duties as citizens to protect the innocent life of children. And it is not the responsibility of a library or a different individual or a teacher to indoctrinate children in things that aren't healthy for them.
Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you so much.
Sherry England.
Oh, I have 4 seconds left, didn't I?
Hi, my name is Sherry England. First of all, we all want to protect children, and there is no pornography in the library. In your obsession with moving, weeding, and not ordering books that you don't approve of by definition of being sexually explicit, are there other books that you are looking at removing as well? That's a question I have. This continues to be about power and control, and the library board is the definition of government overreach. This violates my First Amendment rights. Mr. Butler, you stated that you would like an association that our library can join that wouldn't be political. Have you looked at your bedfellows in the World Library Association? Be careful who you associate with and do your research. They are political. So now why do you believe the World Library Association is better? Another question. And then I wanted to see if we could have a public interview with just so we could see the interviewees and how they answered questions and stuff, but I'm hearing that that's probably not possible. But I would advocate for one. I've heard they're being done, maybe not in this county, but in others. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. And that ends public comment.
Mr. Chair, may I make a comment? Only 3 minutes. I'll be short. I have just been encouraged lately to have hard conversations. And in the past, since our last meeting, I have had conversations with 4 people. And 3 of those people had no idea what actually is in the books. 3 of the 4 people I talked to. These are people that I go to church with, and 2 of them are. One of them doesn't go to church at all, but she could not believe what she saw when I shared excerpts from many different books. And I just think there's a lot of misinformation about what we are talking about here. And there's a lot of misinformation being spewed. Point of order. Thank you. There's a lot of misinformation being spewed. You're saying we're banning books. And right here, ALA, American Library Association.org, by the way, it's a .org, says a banning is the removal of those materials. Not one of the people on this board has said they want to ban a book from the library. And I think that is fair. We have never said we want to ban books. So please get it right. We are asking for the books to be moved to the adult section. That is all we're asking. So please do not continue to spew lies that we are banning books. That is not happening. I will not vote to ban any book. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chair. Recently, I wasn't going to say anything, but this just came to my brain, and I think it is important because my daughter listens. She lives in Sheridan, and she listens and she watches these meetings and everything. And somebody said to her in Sheridan, "Your mom's a Judas and needs to go hang herself," to my daughter. And I sit here and somebody said, "Why are you doing this? Why are you," and I'm like, I care about my community. I've been here since 1980. And I respect every single one of you guys' opinion. I do, and I listen. But the anger and those comments are hurtful. And that is what I think needs to end. We are doing our best. We are looking at things, and we are trying many things. But to make comments to our families and everything that are so hurtful, and even the librarians. I have friends that are librarians, and some of them are hurt, and some of them are telling me because people are saying things to them. Please stop. Please, please stop. Thank you.
I make a motion that we go into executive session.
Can I comment? And once again, this is not directed at any particular group of individuals. This is about trying to, and I've used this before, this is about trying to make the library a little more responsible for protecting children from sexually explicit materials that they may inadvertently come upon. The parents are in charge of what they see. And the library itself can find to protect these children. And children are young enough children, they don't understand this until they're developmentally mature. And there's a certain period of time when that will happen. And so moving these books to a different section, whatever, they still have the opportunity. Our policy does not stop any child from checking any book out of this library. So banning books, censorship is not there. They can get it anywhere they can. The librarians can help them find any book they're looking for. So this is about protecting the children. And that's what it is. And there is not a targeted group. You can shake your head all you want. Thank you. And I will entertain the motion now.
I move that we move into the executive session.
And this is for personnel?
Yes.
Personnel and legal.
Okay. Second?
All in favor? Thank you.